Let's talk about these top 10 rankings and how we got to the individual, like, secondary reaction. Arm strength. Here we go. Dan Orlovsky's top 10 available at ESPN.com. I think you look at that. There'll be a couple names you get surprised by, and it's like, okay, we can kind of just go ahead, pal.
Well, so attached to each group ranking was a write-up, and
no, we didn't read that. We didn't read that, Dan.
Forget about that.
No, why would you do that? So the arm strength one, I kind of broke down into two separate things and tried to morph them together. So it was the guys that can launch it downfield in a 70-ish yard range, like some of those guys. Like Josh is certainly one of those guys. Herbert's one of those guys.
Flacco?
Will Levis, one of Baker. That's why Baker's in there. And then it was also the guys that can fit in that 20-yard throw that's got to be on an absolute rope that's stepped on, and that's where Stafford gets into that one, Rodgers gets into that one, Lamar gets into that one, so Anthony as well. So it's a little bit of a grouping of both those, like who can launch it and or who I think is the best at like just ripping one in a small space 20 yards.
Okay, so let's move on from the arm strength top 10. Let's go to ball placement. Obviously, you do not have Aaron Rodgers on this one, which would certainly be a conversation, I think, amongst any football person that has a brain. You do that on purpose, or you just have a different eye on everything?
No, I mean, so accuracy, ball placement, different things. We've talked about that. Accuracy, throwing to your guy. Ball placement, throwing away from the defender. I was trying to be, with some of these, Pat, like I was trying to be a little bit conscious and aware of like the present day. Obviously, Aaron is in that conversation, didn't play last year. It was a little bit like Kyler as well with the running. So, I try to be, fair to some of the guys that did it recently and in this past season, in comparison to maybe not, Aaron being there.
Got it. And Aaron dropped 170 yards for the arm strength one last year, so in those 4 plays.
Highest seasons for ratio touchdown.
Excuse me, you're talking about.
Well, that's why Aaron's in that decision making. Aaron's got the 6 best seasons ever.
Here it is.
Yep.
You're like, we brought it back.
Because there's some guys that I feel, like Geno Smith, I felt, needed to be in the ball placement because I don't think a guy threw more perfect passes in the last 2 seasons than Geno. And so I wanted to get Geno in there somewhere. And so the decision-making, I kind of broke down the decision-making into 2 separate things. When I first got started doing this, it was trying to get everyone to understand, as a quarterback, you get your play. And every play, there's an opportunity attached to that play, and there's a problem attached to that play. And then you get to line of scrimmage, and there's an opportunity that the defense presents to you if you have the perfect play or the perfect pass versus that ideal coverage, and then there's a problem. Oh my gosh, here comes a pressure. How do I handle that pressure? And so the decision-making was attached to who are the best guys when it comes to that stuff. The defense forces you to do something with the ball. Don't make a good decision, make the right decision. And then also, like, who are those guys that make some decisions with the football in the I'm going to panic with it, I'm not going to panic with it, I'm going to do something better with it situation. So that's kind of how I came together with who grouped into that one.
Nice. Decision-making with football. Need to get everybody in there. Everybody, let's think of ideas. Let's get to some mechanics. Who's throwing the ball properly?
I like that.
Who's throwing the ball properly? Whose footwork and whose arm, stroke, swing is the one that we need to be focusing on the most. Who's teach taping for throwing? This is the crew right here?
Yeah, I think this is the group that's most tied to, like release, natural thrower, feet and upper body tied together. That's a repeatable, consistent thing. Guys that mechanically are so sound that they don't need perfection all the time to still operate in that little operational space that's necessary to kind of play at the level that they're accustomed to. So those are the guys. I mean, CJ's in a ton of them. I think Joe is probably the standard of it right now, or the person that sits on top of the throne, just because he's just so consistently repeatable. Stafford, that's probably the best evolution of his game that he started close to 10 years ago. Herbert's a robot. CJ's stroke is so pure. Dak really has improved in that over the past couple years.
Yeah, we're stroking.
Yeah,
we're stroking in the we're stroking in the west.
What did you think on that?
It was stroking. I think what's fascinating here is Isn't Tua Tagovailoa considered to be a righty? Don't people say that about him? Mm-hmm. Or that was something that people were saying about him? Maybe he was ambidextrous or something like that?
His dad made him.
His dad made him throw lefty or something, right?
Yeah, and now he's in the top 10 mechanics for his wrong arm. That's wild. That's a wild. Hey, guy's a dog.
Hats off.
Guy's a dog. Way to figure that whole thing out. Let's go to the next pocket presence. Obviously, a lot of similar names on here. A lot of similar names on each one of them. And who, like, you were creating things to vote? Because then the next one is rushing ability, which obviously Kyler Murray is below Joe Burrow in it, and there's going to be people that are going to talk about that. And
there might have been a conversation on the internet or two about that one yesterday when it here's my reasoning behind that, because everyone lost their minds. It goes back to a little bit. First of all, Joe's an unbelievable runner. I mean, we've seen him win playoff games because of it. Just because they don't do it in designed fashion, it's a little bit attached to. We really haven't seen Kyler be a dynamic runner since 21, right? Like 22, I don't exactly remember when the ACL happened. I'm sure he ran a little bit in the early parts of 21. So the ACL happened, and then he didn't play for 80% of the season last year. And when he came back, he wasn't used in that. So obviously, Kyler's an unbelievable runner. It's just I'm trying to be conscious of the fact that he's missed that time. Is he going to be used in the same way that he was early in his career coming off of that injury? I don't know. So I'm not minimizing his athleticism. It's just trying to be again aware of that.
Good decision, right decision.
Yeah.
Running ability, rushing ability.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. There is.
I see that now.
There's levels to this shit. There's levels.
Nuance.
Yeah.
And then there's also a way to judge. How about your secondary reactions? Huh? How about your second reaction?
I like that.
Ability. Whenever things aren't great, how do you respond?
What?
Yeah, this is
I
mental
didn't
toughness.
see this.
Mental toughness here in the secondary reaction.
Caleb hasn't taken a step yet.
Minshew.
We saw him in preseason. Caleb understands.
Minshew's unbelievable at it.
Yeah.
Agreed. He made a Pro Bowl last year. Made a Pro Bowl last year. Top 10. This guy top 10.
Took a team to week 18 with the playoffs on the line.
Much better than Rodgers.
Just real quick, how many plays did you watch to judge everybody accurately on second reactions?
Well, I mean, it goes back to their performance of last season and trying to foreshadow
USC.
a little bit.
Okay. USC.
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I mean, Caleb is. I mean, Caleb's one of the better guys that we've had come out of college when it comes to that element of his game
Zach
in
Wilson,
years.
baby.
Agreed.
That's true.
Agreed.
Zach Wilson didn't do that a ton at BYU.
Well,
Did it all the time.
can you go back to the last one?
Yeah,
Can you go back?
9-second pockets.
How come Caleb's not on there? I've seen him running around.
Yeah.
To what?
Holy shit. Talking about rushing ability.
Yeah, I didn't know we were able to do that. I didn't know we were putting rookies.
Well, I mean, yeah, we could. So what happened was they came to be outdone
Oh,
this.
man. We got you, Dan. You son of a bitch.
Once you get to know what happened was.
You know it.
Dan, we got you in that saltwater pool right now.
No, you don't. You guys aren't letting me explain it, and Connor's being a butthead. So
Don't need to cuss, brother.
Jeez.
it didn't.
Kids are watching.
We've done this over the past couple years as a group type of thing, where we all have kind of ranked them 1 through 10 in these different categories, and then they kind of, I guess, take all that information and create them. And then ESPN and the people that we've been a part of doing this with came to me and said, hey, we're just going to have you do it this year. Is that cool? And so I initially did a rough draft, and they pushed back to me a little bit and said, hey, what do you think about, did you forget about this guy or this guy? And I was like, no. And they're like, how about throwing rookies in? Do you think that's warranted? And I was like, I don't really want to throw rookies that much in that much. And so, Jaden was in consideration for ball placement, and I wanted to get Caleb in there. So, it was a little bit of a collaborative effort when it came to some of the people that were behind the brains of formatting it. But adding rookies in there was the potential for every category.
Okay. Hey, we appreciate your effort and your work for football. Not only now on ESPN.com, but for all of us.